I'm so sorry about that. I did switch my Wi-Fi. This is part 2 because people said the book titles were blurry. So I did change my Wi-Fi. I hope it helps. I really don't know anything else to do. I'll show you a couple of the books back. This is Ruby Throat. Thank you, that's good. I meant to check that before I started, by Robert McClung. I'll show one of each author that I've shown. This is Conrad and Mary Buff, right here. Whoop, there's so many. So, oh, thank you. I'm glad you told me that. I would hate to have done the whole, oh, if I hold them closer. Okay, here's the Maud and Miska Petersham. And this is another one of my favorite ones too. Robins in the Garden, by Olive Earl. Yes, I have a lot more of his. What I plan to do later is to, let me show you the little bit more wordy Robert McClung one. What I plan to do is highlight a certain author, just one author at a time for future scopes, because this can get a little overwhelming when I go to Jan's and bring back all these books. But I'm going to pick one author at a time. Yay! This is part 2 because they said it was blurry, and I checked my Wi-Fi and I moved my my modem closer, so they said it looks better now, which is great. This was the first book I shared, Andy. So it's okay, Ingrid. You can watch the replay. This is one I've heard of and been told to read. I don't know what's going on with that, Ingrid. You say that a lot. I don't know what to tell you. I just showed pretty much all of the books that I showed. Now this one, honestly, I just picked this up because it was an absolutely gorgeous vintage book. It's a book on bird migration. And look at these. Look at these pictures. I'm on my science stack right now. I have a history stack, a science fiction stack, and a fiction stack to go through. So like I said, if it takes too long, just watch a replay. I just wanted to get this done before a happy homeschool hour. So here's another. We love birds here, and this is one of those living books that they're good. It is still a living book, but it's not as not as childish as, which I enjoy the childish, but it's not as childish and story like as, say, the Burgess Bird book or McClung's books. Yes. Well, check the authors. Like, I bought every Robert McClung book that she had, but she didn't have all her books with her. So, yes, go play with the baby. Catch the replay. But, you know, check for the authors. Like, ask her, Jan, you know, Hilda told me about Robert McClung. Do you have any? I will, I possibly can do that on this blog. Right here. I probably won't list every book I show you, but I will definitely list every author I show you, because this blog is going to be all about books, and it's for our future lending library. I just have only done like 6 posts there. So anyway, so this one I'm really, really excited about. Everybody knows about Curious George and H.A. Ray. When you hear H.A. Ray, you think of Curious George, and you may have seen this book on some list, and this book is gaining popularity again, Find the Constellation. This is one that I had already, and I knew that he had written some, yes, I knew that he had written some Stars books, but I had that, and I printed up some stuff. Jan, I just love her to death. When she talks about him, I mean, she knows his whole biography and everything off the top of her head, and I just love her for that. But one thing he said about this book that's pretty famous, it says, it's so simple that even an adult could understand it, about the constellations. And what he did was, you know, you can find, he made another book about the stars, and he says you can find astronomy books. I mean, you can find, here it is, it's not hard to find more complicated star charts, but you will be hard-pressed to find more useful ones. That's what people have said about his you know, the classic ones where it's like you see all these dots, and then they've got these Greek figures drawn around them, and you're supposed to just look up in the sky and see, you know, a bear, and all I see is dot and lines. So that's what he did. So he wrote this one. He wrote The Stars, A New Way to See Them. Now, yes, that's why it's good to, that's why Jan's so wonderful, because she can go all over the United States and collect, and she knows what to look for. So, you know, it might be a little bit different than, you might be able to get something cheaper, but you won't get to hold it in your hands. You won't get her knowledge either. Yes, it's hard. It's hard. I've been looking for living books for 16 years, and when I first started homeschooling, I could come home with stacks and stacks of these, but now you go to the thrift store and I may see one, you know, after 5 trips to to different thrift stores. So, anyway, what's so great about this book? Hey there, Dawn. What's so wonderful about this book is it has the dust jacket, which is so hard to find. And it has the star chart that he drew inside the dust jacket. Isn't that amazing? So I was very, very giddy with excitement when I saw this. Now, what is so great, like some of you probably know, you know, the one that people show is, like, this is the ram. Isn't that a lot easier? And this is so popular. His work that he did as an amateur astronomer is so popular that even though it was 50 years ago, astronomers still use this. And nobody has developed anything as good as what he has since then. So, anyway, just look for the H.A. Ray books. He made a couple different ones. So that is my science stack. I will do the fiction stack now. Some of you might have heard of Gene Stratton Porter, Freckles, the book Freckles, and The Girl of the Limberlost is on a lot of reading lists now, but she wrote several other books, and this is one that I didn't have in my collection that I'm, yes, see, I can find, every now and then you can find soft covers, but since I'm collecting for a library to lend out, I want the more durable hardcovers. So this is another book by Gene Stratton Porter. All of her books are absolutely lovely and have a lot of natural science in there. A lot of natural science. Like, we use Freckles as our science book. Oh, one of my favorite authors too that I'm collecting. This was for just me. I collect this author first for me, and then if I find a double, I'll put it in the library. But they stay on my shelf, the first copy. Elizabeth Gouge. So this is one of her books. She only wrote a handful of books. Sorry. She only wrote a handful of books. She does make children's books too. I don't remember the name, but she does write children's books too, Elizabeth Gouge. So anyone that I see, I collect me one first and then one for the library. Elizabeth Gouge, yes. Yes, Into Water, yeah. So she didn't write that many, so I try not to read them all. In fact, I've only read one all the way because I feel like I'm still young. and I want these to spread these out throughout my lifetime. So I'm reading another one with my best friend this year, and I'm just collecting, and I'm probably only going to read one a year. Some of you have probably heard, this is another author that is becoming popular again, Kate Soretti. She wrote A Tree for Peter and Chestry Oak, and both of those books were out of print for years, and they are absolutely wonderful. The Chestry Oak is set in World War II, and but they were out of print, and you had to buy, like, spend $80 at least, $50 to $80 for Chestry Oak. Yeah, Peter is a lovely book, but a company called Purple House Press has recently reprinted A Tree for Peter and Chestry Oak, so you can get those in paperback. So I urge you that if you can't find her hardbacks, please. And she also wrote The Good Master, The Singing Tree, The White Stag. That's on a lot of lists. I think Simply Charlotte Mason has it on her list. So I just found a beautiful hardback copy of The Singing Tree there. I have it in paperback, but I wanted to get it in. And then this is one that I had heard about but I had forgotten. All these wonderful authors that Jan has told me about. Miriam Mason. So this is just a sweet little, it's a historical fiction but not history heavy. It's just set in a different time period. Some of our historical fictions are so history heavy that I'm going to shelve them with our 900s with history. But this is just in a historical setting, a sweet story, and easy enough for the little ones to read. And let me show you some of the illustrations. It's just real simple, really cute. So I just chose one out of that. I wanted to get every one she had, but let's be honest, I can't. And then another reader that I found out about these books by accident whenever I had a later reader, the Dan Frontier books, and now, people have been talking about them, but there's a whole set, Dan Frontier, and they're out of print. They're very hard to find, but Jan picks them up every time she can. She had about 5 or 6 there, and I only needed one because all the rest were duplicates. But my grandson is 7, and he just started the first one today, and it was a very easy read. Dan Frontier, yes. And they're graduated readers. So as they go up through the story, the books get more difficult. So it's graduated readers. So it's a very good series for boys. So pick those up for your boys. And then when we study the Middle Ages, we read the Arabian Nights, and I just could not resist this beautiful. That is a gem. If your library still has those, that is a blessing, because most of books like this have been thrown out. But this is an Andrew Lang big print. I just thought it would be easier for me to read if I wanted to read it out loud, or more fun. Big print. There are a few illustrations. So I just wanted that book. And then I'm collecting all the 5-in-row books, and I only had this one in paperback, but James Daugherty is one of my favorite illustrators. I love his charcoal, just 2-3 color drawings. And he wrote some really good history books too. And so don't just stop with the 5-in-a-row title. Look for other books by him. James Daugherty. So that's my fiction set. Let me go ahead and share my science fiction or fantasy set. Yes, then you read Andrew Cleves and the Lion. Jess, how did it go? I think, yes, go ahead and watch the replay. Did it go good? No cavities. No cavities, yay!
I have to tell you something though when you're
Okay.
done.
Carter has no cavities. My favorite author in the whole world, I don't have this one. It's The Grey Wolf by George MacDonald. I may have it in a compilation, but The George MacDonald fairy tales are fabulous, so I had to get that one. Hurrah! And, oh, let me hold it closer.
Baby.
Yes, baby.
Hi.
Hi. Carter wants to say hey.
Hi.
No cavities. What'd they say about this loose tooth?
They liked it.
They liked it.
I
Okay.
got this for Sissy. Doggy.
Good. So we have read, of course, The Hobbit and The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings series, but I found this one and thought I would just read it for myself. The epic history of the elves and the Lord of the Rings. So I'm sort of excited about this one, and I think my son wants to read it when I get done. Yeah, I know. And then Jan told me to get this one. I rarely get new books because it's hard. Like if I buy a new popular book, I want to hear someone recommend it. But she likes really silly books, and I like reading. Every now and then you just read a silly, twaddly book to your kids just for the laughing of it. Yes. So she said this book was absolutely hilarious, so I picked it up. It's just a troll book, so I'm going to try to read that one to the littles. I know nothing about it other than Jan said, this is a very silly book. I said, okay, I can get that. And then, funny story, I had brought a few books in to trade with Jan that I had packed up about 8 months ago. Like, that I thought was duplicates or thought, oh, I'm not going to read these books. And I know she sells them, so I'm going to, get some books to help her out. And trade. She lets me trade in, which is awesome. But these were in my box to trade, and the Brian, I don't even know how to say his last name. These were in my box to trade, and I said, wait a minute, I started collecting these books, Jan, so I'm not going to give you these. I'm going to take them home. So I just thought that was funny. I felt sort of stupid. But my boy, hey there, it's Amy. It's the, I don't know what the, it's the series by this guy, Jakes. Yeah, Brian Jakes. That's a lot easier to say. So I had purchased the Redwall. Yes, the Redwall series. I haven't read them yet. I had purchased the first 5 from another homeschool librarian that sells some of her duplicates. And I said, well, there's the first 5, so that's a good start. And then when I went to pull out the books to trade with Jan, I was like, I guess I need to keep those since I had the first 5. So anyway, and now my boys really love the Star Wars movies. And I watched them with them just because I love my boys, and I'm more of a Star Trek. I'm more of a Trekkie. But they were okay. I didn't love them the way that my boys wanted me to. So one of the customers there recommended that I get this trilogy to read because it was the most accurate by this Timothy Zahn. He said he's read all of them, and this is the one that's the most accurate. He said his wife didn't care for the movies, and then she read these books and just loved them. So that was a good enough recommendation from so you learn about living books from the customers too. So she had the first 2 in the series. So I think my boys were a little bit excited that I brought these home and said these are for me and not for you. So I just thought that was funny. So that's all the science fiction fantasy that I picked up. Now for history, I picked up a little paperback of a World War II story for my son. Now we're going to get to some cool stuff. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of the Landmark series. You can see right there underneath the mantle I have some Landmark books. You probably heard of the Landing of the Pilgrims and so forth. But there's other, yes, I really do enjoy Landmarks, but there's other series that are very similar that are just as good, or if not better, or a different age range. And one of them is the We Were There books. Now these are even harder to find than the landmark books, the We Were There books. And I have several, and these were the ones that Jan had that I didn't have. But they're told, there's children in the story, and it's told from a fictional story, but it's very history heavy, of children that's going through this historical event. So they're a lot of fun. If you see those, snatch them up. Don't even do a second guess. If you see a We Were There book, it's probably anywhere from, yeah, Cincinnati's supposed to be a really big one. One of these days I'm going to go to the Cincinnati one with her, or meet her there. I told my husband, Goudge, Goudge. Oh, this, and there's a Eileen Goudge and an Elizabeth something else. It's not the same person. It's the We Were There series. So these are all different authors. It's a series. It's got a D in it. Goudge. Different authors for this. It's the We Were There series. So we were there at the Battle of Bataan. We were there at the Oregon. Yeah. Yeah. Your library is awesome. If your library ever has a library sale, you better go there with a lot of money and buy those Dan Frontier and the We Were There, or I'm going to be sad if they go to the recycling bin. So, another good author for, yes, I want to go sometime. Another good author for music, for biographies for musicians, is Opal Wheeler. Opal Wheeler. Beautiful, very well written, very good living book that tells the story of the musician's life, and very good illustrations. So I have a few, so I picked up Chopin, and Wagner. Oh, that's good, but I want the hardback for the library, and the Beethoven. And plus, I'm a sucker for old books. Look at the beautiful illustrations. So those are great. And then Meadowcroft, Enid Meadowcroft is a very good author for historical fictions. And this is The Gift of the River. This is a story of ancient Egypt. And I really like her books, and we don't have many living books on ancient Egypt, so I went ahead and picked this one up for the library. So Enid Meadowcroft wrote a lot of really good books. This is one Jan recommended for, it's definitely a fiction. There's not much fact to it. I should have put this in the fiction section, even though it's about a historical event. But it's about how the Jews rebuilt their nation, the nation of Israel, after the horrors of World War II. And I read some reviews, and some people said that it was propaganda. Like I read it on a Jewish post, and they really liked it and appreciated it. But like, read this for the heart. It like showed their heart, and then maybe read something else to back up the history. But I like the ones that tug at my heart, so I want to read this one myself. And then one of my favorite authors, another beautiful that was Leon Uris. Like I said, I don't know anything. Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you like him, because I've never heard of him. So I'm looking forward to reading this one for myself. Again, just going on Jan's recommendation. If she recommends it, I'll pretty much get it. So this is one of my favorite authors, Marguerite D'Angeli, and this was an autobiography. So I wanted to read. Yeah, I wanted to read her biography. So other than that, believe it or not, I'm at the end of the stack. The only other thing I did was to get my bookhouse set, because I'm trading. I have I don't know if you can see the white and pink set over there, way over there. That's the My Book House set. Let me open it up so you can see. These are beautiful, beautiful stories. They're another graduated set. They start with like nursery rhymes and then go up to stories. But yes, the only reason why I got this is because it's green and I like it better. So this is a wonderful set. Even if you can find them separate, it's very hard to find a whole set. So this is a good example of how it starts. And then it gets a little bit, more wordy. This is book 5. These are the My Book House set. It's 1 through 12. You could probably collect them yay! I got one set from, I think, eBay, and then the this set from Jan I'm trading, and then yes, that's a good price. It's really expensive to get the whole set, but I've had my set for probably 12 years. So they've gotten, as they become more rare and more of them are getting discarded, they become more expensive, which is sad. So I just got I like the green set. Green is my favorite color. So I think that's all. Any of you that do, yes, and more popular. It's a green. I thought the white was more popular. I'd never seen the green much. I had seen the white several, maybe at my places. Yeah, any shade of green, except for like, there is a shade of green that's not pleasant, but most of them are beautiful. Yes, I know. Same content. Well, pretty much. There may be a few different stories, but overall, you're getting the exact same thing. Yeah, not too much different. Not too much different. Yeah, people, because it's a great book. If that's the only thing you read aloud to your children is that set of books, especially, I can imagine people that do public school, this would be a great set for them to collect and just read to their children for bedtime stories as they get older. It's a wonderful go-to for a story for reading aloud. So I have really enjoyed sharing my books, and for my future book scopes, like I was saying earlier, I plan on highlighting either a series or an author, and so it won't be so overwhelming. And just so, yes, I really enjoyed sharing. I'm so glad. That's so good. So these are just a taste of some authors. Don't go out and get them all at once. I've been collecting for years. Think about it. I could have gotten a lot more, but I was trying to think of what we would use in school. And, so after I'm done with school, I'm just going to buy anything I want. So, anyway, don't forget homeschoolscopes.tv, and yay! Yeah, I've got to go finish some nature journaling with coloring. I was in the middle of nature journaling. Yes, she will accept trade-ins if you find duplicates. She does have a website, but she doesn't sell her books online. But if you know that you're going to a conference and you're looking for a particular author, you can email her. But she doesn't, because the books have a fast turnaround. There's no way. I mean, I have a hard time getting my library on my database. I've only got my fiction. So you can look on her website and see her schedule. I know she's going to Fort Worth next weekend, and then I think the next one after a break will be Orlando. She will be at my conference. If any of you are close to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, our conference is June 2nd through 4th. We're in a transition. Yeah, she spoke at the Greenville one. Books for Girls and Books for Boys, and she is just, yeah, I think she is coming to Cincinnati. Yay, do that, and focus on the authors, guys, for a lot that I shared, because if you can't get the particular one, that's okay, get one by the author, and you'll be doing good. Yeah, I think, yeah, she's going there. But she's a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information, and very passionate about the stories. I love sharing what we've read together, and yeah, I saw her speak for the first time probably 14 years ago, or maybe even longer, on Living Books, and I just enjoy helping get books into the hands of homeschoolers. Her booth is called Books Bloom. So really, really, really good. It's she does the work for us, and this is their living. This is their, they just make enough to be able to go around and share books, and it's wonderful that she can do that. It's a ministry for her and her family to be able to do this, because so many of the used book dealers have had to stop because it's so difficult. Yeah, they bus books around. She told me one year that she'd only spent like 36 days in her own house, and that's a ministry. That's a ministry. The conference is June 2nd through the 4th. Yeah. The conference is the 2nd through the 4th of June in Winston-Salem. She does estate sales. She, if homeschool moms, like if I wasn't opening a lending library after I homeschooled, I could sell my library to her. She will buy libraries from homeschool families that are retired, but her focus is the type of books I brought home. She does carry series and Christian fiction series, and a lot of books that are on the list. Anything that she finds that she thinks that homeschoolers can use, she'll carry, but her focus, her goal is to collect the hard-to-find, out-of-print books. So I'm going to sign off here, and I hope this hasn't taken too long, and y'all have a break before Happy Homeschool Hour, because Melanie is going to be sharing a challenge for this week, Homeschool Scopes TV, and I will see you guys later. If you're on Instagram, message me so I can follow you, okay? And talk to you later. Bye-bye, everyone.